So, and on this with the book, he has little cheat sheets on his own website and templates for you to use. We'll kind of go over some of those templates here in a bit, which I think I'm going to implement. I believe he also has a atomic habit journal that I am probably going to buy because I feel like it will definitely help. And that is one thing I realized when reading the book, is that it was just something I've realized that I just haven't done enough myself, is that physically writing stuff out or making a schedule or actually planning stuff helps you to actually stick to things because it's more readily available in your brain and kind of cemented in as this is what I have to do. There's several ways to do it that makes your results more likely. One is just thinking it, and then if you think I need to do this, this, and that, that's like the first step, and the likelihood of you doing it is definitely the lowest. And then if you say it out loud to yourself, the likelihood of you doing it definitely rises. But you actually physically writing out what you need to do and when, and seeing that has a different effect where you overall compared to those other two options, you're way more likely to actually stick to what you want to do. So so through this, he also has little graphs and stuff that he used throughout the book. And so I'll kind of go over one and kind of help explain this. Eventually, if I do something like this again, whenever I do get the visual aspect of the podcast started, I might actually be able to make this where, at least on the YouTube section, I can actually pull some of this stuff up. So keep that in mind for the future. This is different stuff I want to hopefully implement to make this better. So he says here, we often expect progress to be linear, but very least we hope it will come quickly. In reality, the results of our the results of our efforts are often delayed, and it's not until months or years later that we realize the true value of the previous work we've done. This can result in a valley of disappointment, where people feel discouraged after putting in weeks or months of hard work without experiencing any results. However, this work is not wasted. It was simply being stored, and not until much later will the full value of the previous effort be revealed. So in this, he kind of has a graph, results over time, and he shows the valley of disappointment, what you should think happened. And in your head, you think it's going to be a linear progression, but in all reality, depending on what you're doing, it's a very slow progression until you reach basically like the breaking point that kind of kicks those results into place, and you won't realize it. It's kind of like the same thing with working out. Even though at this point, like he said, it takes months or years to realize what you've done, I am not the same person I was 2 years ago. Mentally, physically, all the above. I've changed dramatically, and throughout the process, I don't think I realized it. Like, I would see numbers on the scale, but as I have talked in past podcasts there for a while, I floated around the same weight. And sometimes when you look at numbers, it's a great motivator at times or something to pay attention to in certain situations, but it can also have negative effects because then you feel like you're not doing something right. But when all reality is that just by doing the stuff you're doing, you're working towards the right thing. You just haven't hit the point where the results kind of flutter in. And it takes time, especially in the world of fitness. You're not going to lose 20 pounds overnight. You're not going to be skinny and have a six-pack. It all starts with small habits, just from eating healthier, skipping that slice of pizza, going on a walk, actually going to the gym and making that a habit, to then months to years later, you being way healthier than you ever were. At first, you might not necessarily lose a lot of weight, but your overall heart health or your your resting heart rate will lower. Like, there's things that you won't necessarily notice that are very vital, especially in the category of health, that will slowly progress without actual physical notice. And then another thing he talks about that made a lot of sense to me after I heard it, but I've never thought about it, is that there's 3 layers of behavior change. And those 3 things are outcome, processes, and identity. And most people, I feel like most of the time, kind of, um, so there's those 3 levels of change in your outcomes, processes, and identity. So I feel like most people are making outcome based habits. So they want to lose 10 pounds. They want to try. A lot of my stuff is based on fitness, but you want to have a clean house. You want to uh, do better at work. You want to study more. You want to like do all these things. You want to read more books. You focus more on the outcome of what the habit will be more than the identity of what you want to become. So he kind of says that with outcome based habits, the focus is on what you want to achieve, when identity based habits, the focus is who you want to wish to become. So when I first heard that and he talked about it, it kind of hit me in a different way that I wasn't expecting, where I was like, not thinking about it, it made a lot of sense. Because it's like, I personally in the past have focused more on what I want to achieve more than changing my actual identity and how I think about things, in the sense of, I want to lose weight is the goal, or I want to hit a certain weight, or I want to do this and that, instead of actually wanting to change my mindset in my head and how I talk to myself to be like, I want to be an organized person. I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I am fit. I am healthy. Like, you got to change the way you look at yourself, and that in itself will have an effect on how you look at certain situations. So one of the examples he uses was, if someone offers you a smoke and or cigarette, and someone says, oh, I'm trying to quit, compared to if someone says, I'm a non-smoker, or I don't smoke, it makes you think that you still need it in the back of your mind when you say, I'm trying to quit. And it's a challenge, and you still identify as a smoker that is trying not to smoke. Where if you identify as a non-smoker, it changes what you're trying to do even in your head. So it kind of has a more psychological effect on how you treat yourself. It's kind of like how, I think there's a quote from Bruce Lee, and kind of how, like, it's not good to necessarily talk badly about yourself or in a negative way, because words have power, and if you speak that into existence, even if it's towards yourself, it's going to have an effect. And it's, even if you're joking, I've done it before, and it's not necessarily something you want to do, because it definitely puts you in a different way of responding, when in all reality, it's like, you got to look at what you possibly have achieved and the little victories you've had along the way, and to keep pushing. You got to look at things differently. It's slightly about changing your mindset and your perspective to have a larger effect in the long run.